And here we are live. What's up, everyone? Hope everybody is doing fine. As always, you already know I'm gonna pull up this live stream on a different device to double check that everything is all right with the quality. Please let me know while you join how the quality for the audio and the video is, and more importantly, if we are in sync. I'm gonna use the electric guitar tonight. Because tonight we're going to talk about scales, okay? So if you guys watched the previous episodes of this series, let me just double check the sync first. Okay, should be all right, hopefully. So I'm going to keep it like this. Please let me know, guys, when you join. If I have any issue with the sync or with the audio and the video, this kind of stuff. I was saying, if you guys watch the other episodes of this series, in the last few episodes, we spent quite a lot of time talking about chords, okay? And when I mean chords, we talked about many different chords, obviously, in this series, because this is a music theory series for guitarists, and this is the episode 18. So what I'm referring to this time, I'm referring to altered dominant 7 chords, extended chords like 9th chords, 11th chords, that sort of stuff. But what we're going to talk about tonight really is more scales. So we're going to take a break from what we went through in the last few weeks, and instead we're going to talk about pentatonic scales, major and minor, and the blues scale. Okay, we're going to do this because I actually received a few comments and messages from people watching the previous episodes of this series. And there was a little bit of a confusion between the chromatic scale that we approached at the very beginning of this series to understand the music alphabet and how the notes work, this sort of stuff. The major scale, which we then went to when we wanted to start understanding intervals and this sort of topics, and the pentatonic scales. This for a simple reason, because in this series, in the previous 17 episodes, okay, of this series, I didn't talk about the pentatonic scales. Mainly because the goal of this series, the main goal was giving a overall view of how you can get to what is the key of this song, what is the key of this chord progression, how you can really understand the keys, the harmonic analysis, and you need to know intervals, chords, triads, 7th chords, extended, modal scales, all that sort of stuff that we covered. We talked about a lot of scales when we spent quite a lot of time talking about modal scales and all of the modes of the major scale and the relative minor scale. But we didn't spend enough time on the pentatonic scale, okay? So tonight we're going to clarify all of the doubts, all of the questions that I received about the pentatonic scale. Hey Leo, good to see you tonight. Yes, tonight is going to be all about pentatonic scale. Okay, so if you guys join and you have specific questions about scales, any sort of scale, but in particular the pentatonic scales, major, minor, and blues, leave them in the live chat. Okay, because here is where I'm gonna read your questions and answer them while I'm live. Okay, so the first thing, so that we can get started here to introduce the pentatonic scale, which is the first thing that we're going to do tonight, is going to be, let's start from the name. Okay, when we say pentatonic scale, pentatonic means that you're going to have 5 notes in the scale. I think that if we keep this in mind all the time, this is going to be crucial to understand the difference with the major scale, with the minor scale, with the chromatic scale. So let's do one step back. We did start in this series, like everybody does when approaching the music theory, from the chromatic scale, also to understand better the fretboard of the guitar. Okay, and we started saying, well, we can count all of the notes on one string, for example, starting from the note A and doing A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Okay, 12 notes to get back to the same note you started from, 1 octave higher. Okay, I'm sure that we are all good with this. It's just a quick recap of what the chromatic scale is. It's that scale which contains 12 notes. That's the most important thing that you want to remember, with a distance of half step between all of the notes. So they are equidistant. They all have the same distance. And that said, you can start from any note of this scale, and after 12 times that you go half step higher, you are back to the same note, 1 octave higher, like I did from A to A. If you are slightly more advanced with the theory of the fretboard and the names of the notes on the fretboard, you might do the same thing that I did here, and so on, starting from any other A. For example, if you want to start from the A here, the same 12 notes will be A sharp, B, C, then you can move 1 fret back on the string below, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, move 1 fret back, 1 string below, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, then you're back to it. Or if you want to go to B flat, you can obviously continue into the next octave. There's a question by Fefe, who is asking, I would like to ask you how I could use the pentatonic scale to do a solo. That's a very good point, and this is one of the things that we are going to cover tonight. So if you guys are interested in the pentatonic scales and how you can use them to create a solo and improvise, stick to this video, because we're going to say everything you need to know about the pentatonic scale in tonight's live stream. Okay. So once we have clear in mind that all of the notes that we use in our Western music system are 12, and they all belong to the chromatic scale, which is made by the 7 letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, plus the 5 notes with accidentals, so with either sharps or flats, we know that 12 notes is what we are referring to when we want to find out all of the notes that we can use to build up any chord, any scale, any key really in music. That said, we also went through the major scale after that. And we said that the major scale, which is, for example, this Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, it's basically made by 7 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then you are back to C 1 octave higher. Now, these 7 notes follow a specific formula of intervals, and this formula is made by whole step, half, then whole step, half. Okay, we did talk about this quite a lot at the beginning of this series, so if you guys haven't watched the very first few episodes, I would highly recommend you to watch the episodes 1 and 2, I would say, where you find everything in details about major scales and chromatic scales. Okay, thanks for your comment, Planet of Shapes. Amazing name for your account, by the way. Okay, so that's what we really wanted to say about the major scale. We also said when we introduced the major scale that we have a relative minor scale, which is nothing but a scale which contains exactly the same notes in a different order, and it starts on the 6th degree of this major scale. So if we are referring to the C major scale, so C is the name of the key, is the root note, I can say C, D, E, F, G, A will be the 6th degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can say that the relative minor key is built on the 6th degree of the major scale. Or if you want to find out where is the root note of the relative minor scale starting from the major key, the major scale, you can go 1 whole step and a half, so a minor third lower, going from C to A, for example, and you'll find the name of the relative minor, okay? As well as, I don't know, if you are in F major, they will be the relative minor, and so on, okay? So with that sort of interval in mind. That said, guys, we can say that the A natural minor scale, which is the relative minor of C major, contains exactly the same notes as C major, starting from A. So I can play it as A, B, and then C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay, so I'll just do a little bit slower these two shapes, because I would like you to have it under your fingers to visualize really the names of these notes and the intervals, okay? When I start from C, I'm playing C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. When I start from A, I'm playing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, okay? You might want to also remember the formula, whole step, half, whole step, half for the major scale, and for the minor scale, You just have the same intervals in a different order so that the formula becomes whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole step. Okay, that's how the formula goes. The last thing that you might want to review in the previous episodes of this series is the name of the degrees. When I'm referring to a major scale, I'm saying that all of the degrees are either major or perfect. So root, then major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, back to the root one octave higher. When I'm talking about the relative minor, with referring to A as the root note, you will find not all of the intervals major or perfect, but you find 3 of them, the third, the sixth, and the seventh, as minor. So this will be root, major second, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, back to the root. Okay. If you guys want to find out how the other modal scales, which come from the major and the minor scales, work, you can check out the other episodes of this series, in particular the ones after the episode 10. I'm referring to 11 and 12, where I go in detail talking about the Dorian scale, the Phrygian scale, the Lydian scale, Mixolydian, Locrian, all of the other scales. The Aeolian is the same as the relative minor, the same as the natural minor. And in another episode, the following one, which should be the 12th, I also show the sound, like how the shapes and the sound of each mode using a loop station, having the chords underneath so that you can really appreciate the sound of the modal scales, okay? But I don't want to now introduce or review the modal scales as well. I only want to have in mind what is a chromatic scale, the major scale, and the relative minor, okay? And how we can go from here to the pentatonic scale, okay? That's the thing that we are going to do right now, okay? Once we have this in mind, we can say that we are going from 12 notes of the chromatic scale, which is going to be this, to the 7th note of the major scale, or relative minor scale, making basically a selection. Out of 12 notes, we select the 7 that we are interested in, following the formula that we care about. The whole step, half, whole, half, if we're talking about the major scale. Now, when we go to the pentatonic scale, we finally are talking about the pentatonic scale here. Well, the pentatonic scale is made by 5 notes, we said. So we make another selection. We need to understand which of these 5 notes we want to keep out of the 7 available in the major scale and minor scale. Okay. Now, the thing is, I'm sure that most of you already know this scale. Okay. We sometimes joke about this and we say that when you buy a guitar, the guitar comes with this scale included. Okay, just to say that everybody starts, or most people at least, start from this scale. This scale here is the A minor pentatonic scale. If you guys are familiar with the shapes, this is usually called the shape number 1, although it doesn't really matter the number that you assign to the single shapes. So we need to understand why I said that this scale is called A minor pentatonic, okay? We need to understand why pentatonic, why A, and why minor. So we have kind of like 3 different levels of knowledge to go through, and this is what we are going to do now. The first thing is understanding the difference between chromatic, 12 notes, major and minor scales, 7 notes, also called diatonic scale, and the pentatonic scale, which has 5 notes. Now, within the pentatonic scale, we'll learn the difference between the minor and the major pentatonic scales, and we'll also see how these scales actually can have 6 notes when you add something called the blue note, and this will give you the blues scale, both from a major and a minor point of view. So this is what we're going through right now. So let's try to understand this minor pentatonic that I was playing here. First of all, we said we're going to have only 5 notes. So effectively, the scale goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. And from the following note, I'm just repeating the same 5, 1 octave higher, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until I get to the next octave, which is this, and I play as many notes as I can to stay in the same position on guitar. This is the concept behind the shapes, okay? So we're talking about boxes or shapes of the scale, okay? So if you guys are familiar with this, you might already know that exactly like in the caged system for the chords and the arpeggios, even when you play the scales, in particular the pentatonic scales, you usually practice 5 different shapes. Shape 1, shape 2, shape 3, 4, and 5, which contain exactly the same notes, just in different parts of the fretboard, so that when you play a solo, and this was one of the questions that I received earlier, when you play a solo, when you improvise, you can use that pentatonic scale wherever you like on the fretboard in any major or minor key, okay? That's why you need to learn all of the shapes and not just the 5 notes within the A minor pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. You want to repeat that 1 more octave higher, and as much as you can of the following octave as well, then move to another shape, then another shape, and so on, okay? So only for who already learned these shapes, basically you can think of this is the shape 1, starting from the first note of the scale. This is the shape 2, starting from the second note of the scale. This is the shape 3, starting from the third note of the scale. This is the shape 4, starting from the fourth note of the scale. And this is the shape 5, starting from the 5th note of the scale. The reason why we say we have only 5 shapes is because this is a good way to map the fretboard, because after that, the following note will be the same as the root, 1 octave higher, so you can easily repeat the same shape 1 octave higher. And depending on the key that you're playing, you might be able to fit even the second shape 1 octave higher, or even the third. Or you might want to start elsewhere on the fretboard with the shape 1, or with a different shape according to the key, okay? This kind of topic can go deeper and deeper. We might talk about the importance of knowing the root notes when you learn the shapes, but I will just say that in the description below, you will find another video that I will link below, which explains the most important things to know about the shapes of the pentatonic scale. One of them being how you can practice any minor and major pentatonic instantly on the fretboard of the guitar without literally spending any time thinking about what shape shall I play and where shall I play it, okay? There is a method for it. I discussed this in a topic in a specific video on this topic, so I will leave it in the link in the description, with a link in the description below, because tonight we're going to talk about theory, so we're going to understand the notes that I played, okay? Now, going back to the theory, the 5 notes that I play in the A minor pentatonic, which is going to be our first example, are A, C, D, E, G, and then I'm back to A. So this means that if I think about the 7 notes that I was playing in the A natural minor scale, the relative minor of C major, I actually had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So I can easily say that there are 2 notes that I'm taking out when I go from the natural minor scale to the minor pentatonic scale. And these 2 notes that I take out are the note B and the note F, okay? So that means that when I play this, I've got root, I skip the major second, which would be the note B, and I go to C, to my minor third. Then I go to D, which stays as my perfect fourth, E, which stays as my perfect fifth. I'm skipping now the note F, so I'm not playing the minor sixth, and I go directly to the minor seventh and then the root. So if I go over the degrees that I'm left with, I'm basically left with root note, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor seventh, and then back to the root. Okay, so you can think of the minor pentatonic scale as a natural minor scale where you are taking out the second note, which is the major second degree, B, for example, in the key of A minor, and the minor sixth degree, F, for example, in the key of A minor. So you are left with root, minor third, perfect fourth and fifth, minor seventh. That's it. That is the formula for any minor pentatonic scale. Then you can take it from where you are, that's going to be A, for example, you bring it to anywhere else on the fretboard, exactly like the other scales that we learned, and you say, I want to bring it to G, and I want to play my G minor pentatonic. Do I have to go through the theory and figure out what notes I have in the key of G minor? No, I don't have to do so, because I can rely on the shape that I've learned, on the series of degrees and intervals that I've learned, and I know that this will be root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor seventh, back to the root again, okay? For example, in the key of G minor, the notes that I find are G root, B flat minor third, C perfect fourth, D perfect fifth, F minor seventh, back to G, okay? Now we need to also see what kind of intervals, like distances between the notes we are finding now in the pentatonic scales that we didn't find in any of the major and minor scales, in any of the modes coming from the major scale either. And I'm referring first of all to the fact that if I start from the root A and I'm going to the minor third C, skipping the second degree B, I'm creating an interval of 3 half steps, 3 semitones that I didn't have before. Okay, I didn't find this interval in any mode of the major scale. So how does this actually work? You get a larger interval because you take out one note. So you get A going to C, 1.5, C to D, whole step, D to E, whole step, but then because you take out the note F, when you go from E to G, this interval is a minor third. So here you've got 3 semitones as well, and then 1 whole step to get back to the root. So the theory of the minor pentatonic that kind of like everybody knows is going to be root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor seventh, root, and the intervals are 1.5, whole step, 1.5, whole step. Okay. Now, this is what we need to know about the minor pentatonic scale. Once more, guys, I want to stress out that it's really important that you learn 5 shapes of these scales, in particular 5 shapes of the minor pentatonic, remembering to associate the root notes, so the A's, for example, that you find in this area when you play the shape 1, and then apply this to any other key you want to play, okay? Now, how does it work when I want to play a major pentatonic? Well, here we need to do once more a step back. And we need to say that because we started from the C major scale, and we say we can build on the 6th degree A, the relative minor scale, which is going to be A minor. This means that C major and A minor obviously contain exactly the same notes. And that also means that when I'm referring to the pentatonic scale, the pentatonic minor that I can play from A, so A minor pentatonic, and the pentatonic, the major pentatonic that I can play from the relative major C will contain exactly the same notes because these are relative keys. So A minor and C major, however you want to practice them and look at them, they always contain the same notes. Okay, so basically the 5 notes that I just found in A minor pentatonic, if I play them starting from C, will give me the 5 notes of the C major pentatonic scale, like C, D, E, G, A, C. Let's say them again. C, D, E, G, A, C. I think that here it's going to be easier to realize what degrees you are missing out comparing this to the C major scale, which contains 7 notes. Effectively, I'm starting from the root note C, and I'm saying from C, I go to D major 2nd degree, then I go to E major 3rd degree. Because I skip the note F, I'm skipping the perfect 4th. I go to G, perfect 5th. I go to A major 6th. I skip the note B, so I'm skipping the major 7th, and I'm back to C, which is my root. So if I say this in the right order, I basically find root note, major 2nd, major 3rd, no perfect 4th, major perfect 5th, major 6th, no major 6th, no major 7th, sorry, and root, okay? So the 2 degrees that I'm missing when I go from the C major scale to the major pentatonic are going to be the perfect fourth and the major seventh. Okay, if I compare this to what we just learned about the minor keys, we know that playing a minor pentatonic and comparing this to the full scale minor natural scale, you're missing out the major second and the minor sixth, referring to A as your root. When you look at it from a major perspective and you want to compare the C major scale to the C major pentatonic, okay, what you're missing out is the perfect fourth and the major seventh. The intervals that you get in this major pentatonic are root, major second, major third, perfect fifth, major sixth, back to the root again. The intervals that you get, so the distances between the notes, are going to be one whole step, one whole step, one and a half, one whole step, one and a half again. So the same intervals we found in A minor, obviously in a different order. Okay, so this is the theory behind the minor and the major pentatonic, guys. You need to remember they have 5 notes. These 5 notes are taken from the full scales, the major scale and the relative minor scale, taking out 2 of these notes. From a minor perspective, you're missing out the major second and the minor 6th degree. From a major perspective, you're missing out the perfect fourth and the major 7th. I hope that this makes sense. Please, guys, let me know in the comments in the live chat if this makes sense, or if you have questions about this or about anything else we are saying about these pentatonic scales. Okay. Now, that said, guys, this could not be the most efficient way to actually practice the pentatonic scale on guitar. This is just a way to understand the theory behind the scales. Okay. If you then want to become really good and understand that you can improvise over any major and minor key instantly all through the fretboard using the pentatonic scale, you need to learn 5 shapes of the minor pentatonic. Those same shapes are shapes that you can use from a major perspective as major pentatonic without having to learn another 5 shapes. You can just use the same 5 shapes looking at a different root note. And here it comes something that I already mentioned when we were learning the modal scales in the previous episode, which is my personal approach to this. It's not going to be something like, okay, let's learn this is A minor and this is going to be C major and that's it. I actually suggest not to look at it from a relative perspective, A minor and C major. I suggest you to actually practice this as parallel keys. This is where you really do a step up. So this means that I can start from A, and from A, following the intervals that we learned today, we can actually say if I want to play the minor pentatonic, I'm going to play these 5 notes. Root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor 7th, root. Write them down. Pause this video, write them down if you need it. That's something that I always suggest, guys. Especially if you're rewatching the replay of this live stream, you can take rests and pauses wherever you need it. Take your notes or prepare questions that you can ask next week, this kind of stuff, and watch these episodes at your own pace, really. Okay, I think this is something that really helps. And another thing, remember at the end of each video, in all of the episodes of this series, you find the chapters through the timestamps in the videos, which shows you exactly where it goes, where you have to go in the video to find the topic that you're interested in. Okay, so my advice is following the parallel approach and go like ba, 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 to play minor, root, minor third, perfect fourth, fifth, and minor 7th before the root 1 octave higher. And if you want to play the major pentatonic, play that major pentatonic from A as A major pentatonic, which is the parallel major pentatonic, instead of going to C and play the C major pentatonic, which is nothing but the major relative scale. Okay, so if you start from A and you follow the intervals we learned, the A major pentatonic is going to be root, major second, major third, perfect fifth, major 6th, root. So ba 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 ba. And here is where you really understand how these goes, how you go from minor to major. I guess they also sound, this is more minor, more rock, more bluesy. this sounds more major. Okay, but we'll see that in a minute. Do you have any training advice for playing pentatonic scales faster? It depends on what you mean by faster. If you mean just in terms of speed on the fretboard, you know, this kind of stuff, yes, there are patterns that you can use, but mainly it's going to be a focus on the alternate picking technique and making sure that you always practice with the metronome in a progressive way. That's number one thing. If you mean like practicing or train yourself with the pentatonic scales to make sure that you play any key, major or minor, as quick as you can, then you need to have a strong theory knowledge and a strong knowledge of the fretboard. So as I said, I link a video in the description below where you can find a recap of what's the best way to be really efficient. And if you watch that video in about 15 minutes, you will learn anything you need to play any major and minor pentatonic everywhere on the fretboard. Okay, we're not going to do this tonight just because tonight we talk about theory, but you can watch that video and you'll find everything about the shapes there. And I'll link another video which shows you how to quickly find the name of any note on the fretboard, because you might have seen that when I refer to the degrees, I also say the names of the notes that I'm playing, and you need to be real quick at finding them. Okay. Leo says, I'm recapping since episode 1. That's fantastic, and thanks for doing that. I think it's very important that you follow the right order in these episodes so that you really are going step by step to master all of the topics. And also great strat, by the way. Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, this is what we need about minor and major pentatonic from a theory point of view, and also to really learn them, make sure that you approach them with a parallel approach. And remember, if this is your root and you're going to use it for a minor pentatonic and for a major pentatonic, if you guys know the shapes, you can refer to the shape 1 in order to play the minor pentatonic, and to the shape 2, if you know the shapes, to play the major pentatonic. Okay, using the same root notes. Okay, then if you want to bring this to C, you might say, well, I've got a C here, I've got another C here. How can I play the C minor pentatonic? I can do this. And if I want to play the major pentatonic, well, I can do this. Okay, obviously I'm limiting everything I'm showing you to 1 octave, but feel free to expand this to all octaves, all shapes, all through the fretboard. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Again, guys, keep coming with your, keep bringing up your questions if you have questions about this. I'm making sure that I don't miss any. And again, all this is something that you really learn with a lot of experience. But I will leave more resources in the link in the with links in the description below, because I feel like after watching this live stream or the replay of this live stream, you might be interested in finding out more about the pentatonic scale. So everything I've got available on this channel, I'll leave it in the description below so that you can take your time, maybe save those videos, and whenever you've got some free time, you can go back to them and make sure that you can practice with me the exercises that I show in those videos. Okay. That said, we now need to introduce a very hot topic, okay, which is the blues scale. So what is the blues scale? It's something that sounds like this, first of all. Okay. So as soon as I play this, it definitely sounds more bluesy than what I was playing just before, okay? But you might have noticed already, or you might know if you know something about the blues scale, that I was playing 1 extra note. So when we say the blues scale, we don't really say the pentatonic scale anymore, because the blues scale has 6 notes, while we said any pentatonic scale to be called pentatonic. Penta means 5, so you're going to have 5 notes in the scale. So when I'm referring to the blues scale, I'm adding an extra note. This note is called the blue note, because it has a sort of blue sadness in it, which helps you understanding why the blues has that sort of character, you know. And it's what you get when you do something like. So that's what you do with the blues, with the blue note. So the blue note is a sort of sixth note that you are adding to the scale, making it a scale with 6 notes. But you could also think of it as a pentatonic blues or blues pentatonic, however you want to say this. So you might want to say like minor blues scale, minor pentatonic blues scale, or major pentatonic blues scale. And you easily understand that you come from the 5 notes of the pentatonic scales that we went through, minor and major, and we are adding a 6th note, being that 6th note, the blue note. Now, that blue note that you're adding is the same note. So if I'm in this area and I'm playing A minor pentatonic or C major pentatonic, the note that I'm adding is this E flat. Okay. However I look at it, if I look at it as A minor, it's the E flat. If I look at it as C major pentatonic, it's still gonna be E flat. So what it's going to change is not really what note you're adding, but what degree that represents in the key that you're playing. So let's go step by step. In the A minor pentatonic, we said we have these 5 notes: root, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and minor seventh. Now, the note that we are adding is this, E flat. It's basically a chromatism that you get between the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth, and you get this. When you do this, you get these 6 notes. Back to the root 1 octave higher. So this note here is going to be exactly between the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth. And the blue note, from a minor perspective, is going to be a flat 5 or diminished fifth. Okay. When you say flat 5 or diminished fifth, you are referring to this as the root. And the most experienced of you might recognize that this interval is called triton, which is a diminished fifth. But this doesn't matter. It doesn't even relate to the topic of the blues. So the thing is that now the degrees are root, minor third, perfect fourth, diminished fifth, or raised fourth, but we generally look at it as diminished fifth, perfect fifth, minor seventh. Ba, 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 ba. Resolving on the root note again. If I continue from this root note, which is just another A, 1 octave higher, and I extend this to the following octave, I will get root, minor third, perfect fourth, blue note, diminished fifth, perfect fifth, minor seventh, root again. Okay. I guess that you might be used to this because this is something that you find all the time in rock solos, in blues solos, everywhere really, even jazz, and it's something that always sounds nice wherever you can use the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, then if you are more experienced and you approach this, how to study the blues and how to practice the improvisation over the blues, you might know that you use this blues scale over the blues progression, okay, which is, generally speaking, when, for example, you have a major blues made by dominant 7 chords, you can use the minor pentatonic here, especially with the blue note, and the major pentatonic. Okay, maybe mixing them up. This was just mixing up the minor and the major pentatonic, okay? Now, when you do this, you need to know very well what scale you're playing. If I'm playing a minor pentatonic, it's this. If I'm playing the blues scale from A minor as perspective, the A minor blues scale becomes this. Adding this sort of chromatism here, okay? I hope this, guys, makes sense. I'm gonna go now over the major points of view so that we can also understand this. Remember that feel free to ask any questions in the live chat. And if you feel like supporting this channel, you can also use the what's it called? The stickers and the super chats that you find in the live chat. Or you can just like this video, and this will already help me reaching out more people. Feel free to share it with other people that might be interested in finding out more about music theory for guitarists, especially this episode about the pentatonic scale. Okay. So it's everything in the live chat, and if you want to ask any question, I'll get back to you. Or if you're watching the replay, feel free to leave your questions in the comments, and I'll get back to you as well. Okay. That said, guys, if we look at this same blues scale from a major perspective, that note has a slightly different meaning. Okay. Let's see what I mean. If I start from C, the notes, including this E flat, become C, D, E flat, E, G, A, C. Okay. And the degrees become root, major second, something between the major second and the major third. What is it that we have between the major second and the major third? Well, first of all, we have the minor third. So this E flat is effectively the minor third, but because we already have the major third in this scale, if you look at it from a slightly more advanced perspective, you might think of it as a sharp 9 or augmented second degree. Okay, so I leave this to you. It's up to you whether you want to say root, major second, sharp 9, or sharp 2 raised to basically augmented second, or if you want to say root, major second, minor third, major third. However you want to call it, you do have a chromatism between the major second and the major third, generating this thing here. Okay. Now, what is really important, first of all, I literally just watched, I think yesterday or the day before, a new video from Rick Beato. You guys might know Rick. He has an amazing channel. And the video was about the Hendrix Chord, the E7 sharp 9. And one of the things that he was referring to is why we call this the sharp 9. So you might want to check that video out. Or you might know this already from my previous videos in this series, in this Music Theory for Guitarists series, where I talked about the dominant 7 chords with the alterations, and one of them was the sharp 9. If you haven't watched it, it's just the previous episode, so it's the episode 17, okay? And the thing is, this note is the same note that you find in the blues scale, especially when you look at it from a major perspective. So effectively, when you play the Hendrix chord, this note here could be the blue note at the end of the day in the key of E major, okay? Because this scale, this chord already has the major third, so it doesn't make much sense to say major third and minor third within the same chord, while instead you can say major third, flat 9, which gives you this classic Hendrix chord. I'm sure that most of you already knew this chord and you are familiar with what I just played. So that said, guys, I'll leave up to you whether you want to say minor third or augmented 9th or augmented 2nd, but the degrees that you have are root, major 2nd, minor 3rd or raised 2nd, major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 6th, and root. Okay, so the blue note, it is the same no matter whether you look at it from a major or minor point of view, but what you want to keep in mind is that from a minor perspective, that will act as a flat 5 or diminished 5th. From a major perspective, that will act as a minor 3rd or sharp 9. Up to you, really, okay? So if I move this elsewhere, for example here, and I say, I want to now play, well, actually, let's do that in A first. So the parallel approach to the blues scale. Starting from A minor blues scale would be this. A, C, D, E flat, E, G, A. Root, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, diminished 5th, flat 5, perfect 5th, minor 7th, root. If I want to play a major pentatonic with the blue note, okay, this will be A, B, C, C sharp, E, G, F sharp, A. So that becomes root, major 2nd, minor 3rd, or sharp 9, then major third, perfect fifth, major sixth, root. Again, looking at A as your root for both major and minor. This is called the parallel approach, and I think it's much more powerful than the relative approach. Okay. That said, I can move to C and say, starting from C, the notes of a C minor pentatonic scale are C, E flat, F, G, B flat. So if I add the blue note, this becomes C, E flat, F, G flat, G, B flat, C. Okay. Well, instead, if I play the C major pentatonic, the notes are C, D, E, G, A, C. And if you add the blue note, this becomes C, D, E flat, E, G, A, B, C. Okay. So the thing that really matters here is understanding the degrees. Okay. Okay. Make sure that you follow the degrees, guys. Take some notes and write down what degrees we have here. And again, if you don't feel comfortable enough with finding out the names of the notes on the fretboard, you'll find a link in the description below with how to find quickly the names of the notes on the fretboard. All of the methods that you might find in tons of other videos, I tried to put them all together in one relatively short video. Okay, and if you want to find out more about the pentatonic scales, how to practice them, how to become really quick, and especially going from major to minor, again, watch the video in the description below, and I'm sure that you understand better how you can apply minor and major pentatonic when you improvise, when you play your solos, or when you want to analyze the solos that you learn from great guitarists. Okay, Leo says blues chord progressions to harmonize the blues scale. I don't really understand what you mean with blues chord progression. Let's say that obviously if you are referring to a classic blues chord progression, the major one, it's all made by dominant 7 chords, made by 3 chords, the first degree dominant 7, the 4th degree dominant 7, and the 5th degree dominant 7. Okay, many different structures, but the most common is 1st degree for 4 bars, 4th degree for 2 bars, back to 1st degree for 2 bars, and then the turnaround 5, 4, 1, 5. Okay, that could be one. But this would be a much larger topic, which we might go through in one of the next episodes, because there is also then the minor blues, made by -7 chords. And if you guys have in mind the sound of The Thrill Is Gone, B.B. King, you'll find many examples of what a minor blues is. So the chord progressions in the blues can vary a little bit depending on whether you refer to a major or a minor blues. But overall, the one that everybody calls the blues, the classic shuffle thing, it's made by 1-4-5 all dominant 7. How to harmonize the blues scale? Well, we don't really harmonize the blues scale. We mainly refer to the major and minor scales to harmonize, because at the end of the day, the blues scale, in general, the pentatonic scale, is just a selection of the best 5 notes of your major scales and relative minor full scales. And the blues scale will be just a chromatism. You should see it as a passing note. So although it really sounds good, the blue note, it's still a dissonance. It's still, a passing note. So if you use it as a passing note going from one note to another, it sounds good. But if you stay there, it feels like that's quite of a dissonance. Where are we going next? So if you use it as, that's good. But if you play it as, I'm expecting to continue elsewhere. Okay, that's a dissonance. Thanks for asking. Great to know about the blues chord progression and turnarounds. Exactly. Then, obviously, many other variations could be in the turnarounds within the chord progressions. Okay. Just keep in mind, guys, that when we refer to what a blues is, no matter whether you are referring to a major classic shuffle blues, to a minor blues, to a jazz blues, you are always talking about a structure in 12 bars. If you don't have 12 bars, then it's not going to be A blues. Okay. I hope this all makes sense, guys. If you have further questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, after this live streaming, I'll put the chapters, the timestamps, so that you can navigate this video better if you want to rewatch it. And I will also add the links that I said in the description below, so that you can watch the other videos on the pentatonic scales. Okay, that's all for tonight. As always, if you haven't done it yet, make sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with whoever you think might be interested in learning more about music theory for guitarists or pentatonic scales. Okay, as always, I really appreciate your support, so thanks a lot for watching this live streaming. The next episode will be next Friday, usual time. So you guys have a nice weekend, and I'll speak to you all next week. All right, take care. I'll see you all very soon.